Imagine being betrayed by your own brothers. Imagine being thrown into a well, not by enemies, but by family. Imagine being sold as a slave in a foreign land. Then imagine resisting temptation when no one would have known. Imagine choosing prison over sin. And then, years later, imagine standing in a palace, holding authority over the very men who once tried to erase you. This is not fiction. This is not a motivational story. This is Surah Yusuf, the only chapter in the Quran where a prophet's life is told from beginning to end in a single narrative. Allah calls it the best of stories. But it is not the best because it is dramatic. It is the best because it teaches patience without bitterness, power without arrogance, and trust in Allah without passivity. From a well, to a marketplace, to a prison, to the palace. This is the story of Prophet Yusuf, عليه السلام, and every stage was written before it unfolded. It begins not with prison, not with palace, but with a dream. Yusuf was still a young boy when he came to his father, the Prophet Yaqub, peace be upon him, and told him what he had seen in his sleep. Not a vague impression, something precise. 11 stars, the sun and the moon, all prostrating before him. In Islamic understanding, the dreams of prophets are not ordinary. They are a form of divine communication. What Yusuf saw was not imagination, it was indication. Yaqub understood this immediately. He was a prophet himself, and he recognized the weight of what his son had just described. But his response was not celebration, it was caution. He said, "O my son, do not relate your vision to your brothers lest they plot against you. Indeed, Satan is a clear enemy to man." This is a father who carries two things at once: the recognition of divine promise and the knowledge of human weakness. Or he understood something that many people miss. Destiny does not prevent hardship. A promise from Allah does not erase trials. Sometimes it introduces them. The Quran then tells us that Allah would choose Yusuf, teach him the interpretation of events, and complete his favor upon him, just as he had upon his forefathers Ibrahim and Ishaq, peace be upon them both. The future was already written, but it would not arrive gently, and the first storm would come from inside the house. The household of Yaqub was not an ordinary household, it was a household of prophethood. Yet even there, human weakness found a way in. Yusuf's brothers looked at their father's tenderness toward Yusuf and his younger brother, and something inside them curdled. They said to one another, "Indeed, Yusuf and his brother are more beloved to our father than we are, while we are a strong group. Indeed, our father is in clear error." This is what envy does. It takes something real, in this case, genuine affection, and reframes it as injustice. It made love look like favoritism, and it made them feel like victims of something that wasn't actually being done to them. They began talking about what to do. One suggestion was to kill him. Another, put forward by one of the brothers as the lesser option, was to throw him into a well and let a passing caravan find him. They settled on that. Then they went to their father and asked to take Yusuf with them, assuring him they would look after the boy. Yaqub was uneasy. His intuition sensed something wrong. He said, "Indeed, it saddens me that you should take him." But they pressed him, and eventually he agreed. The Quran does not dramatize what happened next. It states it plainly. They took him and they lowered him into the darkness of a well, and then they walked away. There is something particular about a betrayal that comes from within the family. It is not just loss, it is confusion. Because the people who were supposed to protect you are the ones who put you there. Yusuf, alone in that darkness, had no army, no plan, no visible way out. But he was not abandoned. In that moment, Allah revealed to him, You will surely inform them of this affair of theirs while they do not perceive. Even in the well there was promise. He did not know the full meaning of those words yet, but the promise was there. The brothers returned to Yaqub at night with a shirt soaked in false blood, claiming that a wolf had taken Yusuf. Yaqub looked at the shirt and did not believe them. He said, "Rather, your souls have enticed you to something. So patience is beautiful, and Allah is the one sought for help." He did not scream. He did not collapse. He grieved, genuinely, but he held his trust in Allah intact. That kind of patience is not the absence of pain. It is pain without accusation. It is grief without losing sight of Allah. Meanwhile, a caravan passed by the well. They sent someone to draw water, and the bucket came up with a boy. They saw opportunity. They took him, and they sold him in Egypt for a reduced price, a few coins. A prophet of Allah, treated as merchandise. This is not symbolic humiliation. It was real displacement, from the house of a prophet to the marketplace of strangers. But the Quran's framing of this moment is significant. It does not say Yusuf was sold. It says, "Thus we established Yusuf in the land." The same event that looked like the lowest point in his life is described by Allah as establishment. The well did not end his destiny. The sale did not reduce his worth. What appeared to be movement away from everything was actually movement towards something. Yusuf was purchased by a man of high office in Egypt, a minister referred to as Al-Aziz. He was taken into the household with a degree of care. Make his residence comfortable. Perhaps he will benefit us, or we may adopt him as a son. And as Yusuf grew into maturity within that house, Allah gave him sound judgment and knowledge. He was no longer a child needing protection. He was a young man of character, strength, and, the Quran mentions it directly, remarkable beauty. The next test did not come from enemies. It came from within the house. The wife of Al-Aziz sought to seduce him. She locked the doors. She was direct. And Yusuf's response was immediate. "I seek refuge in Allah. Indeed, He is my master who has made my residence good. Indeed, wrongdoers will not succeed." His refusal was not social calculation. It was grounded in something deeper, his relationship with Allah, and his gratitude to the man who had sheltered him. All commentators note that when the Quran says he would have desired her had he not seen the proof of his Lord, this refers to a divine sign or reminder that Allah granted him, and his protection from sin was decisive. The prophets are protected from major transgressions, and in this moment that protection was real and active. They both ran for the door. She grabbed his shirt from behind and tore it. At that moment, Al-Aziz appeared. She immediately turned it around. "What is the penalty for one who intended evil toward your wife?" A witness from the household resolved it simply. If the shirt was torn from the front, she was telling the truth. If torn from the back, he was. The shirt was torn from the back. Al-Aziz told her, "Indeed, it is of your plot." And then the matter was largely dropped, or so it seemed. But word spread among the women of the city. They mocked her obsession. She responded by inviting them and presenting Yusuf before them. When they saw him, they cut their own hands in shock and said, Even then, the pressure on Yusuf did not stop. She threatened him with prison if he refused. His response was a prayer. "My Lord, prison is more beloved to me than what they invite me to." He chose confinement over compromise. He walked into prison innocent. And the Quran marks that clearly. The signs of his innocence were visible, and those in power imprisoned him anyway, not because of evidence, but because it was convenient. What Yusuf did inside that prison is worth paying attention to. He did not go quiet. He did not become bitter. 2 men were imprisoned alongside him, each carrying a dream they couldn't explain. They came to him because his reputation for knowledge had followed him even behind bars. Before he interpreted their dreams, he taught them about Allah. He reasoned with them. Are separate lords better, or Allah, the one, the prevailing? He used a moment that had nothing to do with religion to plant something of religion. Only then did he interpret. One of them would return to serving the king. The other would be executed, and birds would eat from his head. Both came true. Yusuf asked the one who would be freed to mention him to the king. The man forgot, and Yusuf remained in prison for several more years. That detail is easy to pass over, but it sits there in the Quran for a reason. He did what he could, and then the door closed again. There was no explanation, no timeline, just more waiting. And the prison did not reduce his worth. It refined it, because what was being built inside Yusuf, the patience, the integrity, the clarity, could not have been built anywhere else. Then the king of Egypt saw a dream that unsettled him. 7 fat cows devoured by 7 lean ones, 7 green spikes, or 7 dry. He brought it to his court and they dismissed it. Confused dreams, they said. Power without insight has its limits. At that moment, the man Yusuf had helped years earlier finally remembered. He told the king there was a man in prison who could interpret dreams. Yusuf was summoned. His interpretation was not vague or mystical. It was practical. 7 years of abundance were coming. He advised them to harvest carefully, store the grain in its spikes to preserve it, and live off only a portion. Then 7 years of severe famine would follow, then relief after that. This was economic planning. The king was not looking at superstition. He was looking at clarity, and he recognized it. He ordered Yusuf brought to him, but Yusuf did not rush. He made a request before leaving prison. Return to your lord and ask him about the women who cut their hands. Indeed, my lord is knowing of their plot. He would not walk out of that cell under a cloud of suspicion. He understood that freedom without truth is incomplete. The king gathered the women and questioned them. They answered plainly, "Perfect is Allah. We know no evil about him." And the wife of Al-Aziz, facing the king directly, said, "Now the truth has become clear. I sought to seduce him, and indeed he is of the truthful." That public acknowledgement mattered. The accusation had spread publicly. It needed to be undone publicly. And only after his name was clear did Yusuf step forward. The king looked at him and said, "Indeed, today you are established with us and trusted." Not simply freed, established, trusted. Truth came first and authority followed. Yusuf stood before the king and made a request that scholars note is permissible when a person knows they are genuinely qualified and the position serves a real need. "Appoint me over the storehouses of the land. Indeed, I am knowledgeable and trustworthy." He stated 2 things: his understanding of the crisis and his character. No boasting, no performance, just honesty about what he could offer. The king entrusted him with economic authority over Egypt. The years of abundance came. Yusuf implemented structured storage. The famine followed exactly as he had said, and it spread beyond Egypt into the surrounding regions. And that famine is what brought his brothers to his door. They came seeking grain, not knowing who stood before them. He recognized them immediately. They did not recognize him at all. The balance of power had completely reversed. The boy they had thrown into a well now controlled the food supply of an entire region. He said nothing yet. He treated them according to policy and made it a condition of future supply that they bring their younger brother, Binyamin, on the next visit. When they returned with him, Yusuf quietly revealed himself to his younger brother alone. "Indeed, I am your brother. So do not despair over what they used to do. Through a lawful arrangement involving the king's measuring cup, Binyamin was kept in Egypt. The brothers returned to Yaqub without him. Yaqub's grief deepened further. He had already lost Yusuf. Now this. Yet, he said, perhaps Allah will bring them to me altogether. And I only complain of my sorrow and my grief to Allah. And I know from Allah that which you do not know. His trust had not moved. Years of separation, as years of grief. And his certainty in Allah remained intact. This is not a small thing. This is a man holding on to faith through a pain that did not relent and did not explain itself. Eventually, pressed by famine and softened by hardship, the brothers returned to Yusuf. This time they came differently, with humility, not demands. It was then that he revealed himself. "Oh, do you know what you did with Yusuf and his brother when you were ignorant?" They looked at him and asked, "Are you indeed Yusuf?" He said, "I am Yusuf, and this is my brother. Allah has certainly favored us." And then, with full authority over them, with every reason to make them feel what they had made him feel, he said, "No blame upon you today. May Allah forgive you, and He is the most merciful of the merciful." That is the moment the entire story builds toward. Not the palace, not the position. That sentence. Because mercy at the height of power costs something. It is not weakness dressed up as virtue. It is a choice, made in full awareness of what was done and full capacity to respond differently. He chose not to. He sent his shirt back with them and told them to place it over their father's face. When they did, Yaqub's sight returned. The family came to Egypt. Yaqub and Yusuf's mother were raised upon the throne, and the whole family fell before him in prostration, a form of respectful acknowledgement permitted in earlier law, not worship. And Yusuf, looking at this moment, recognized it for what it was. The 11 stars, the sun, the moon, the dream he had told his father as a child in private, with no audience. It had arrived exactly as it was shown to him after decades of a journey that looked nothing like arrival. He turned to Allah and said, "My Lord, you have given me authority and taught me of the interpretation of events. Creator of the heavens and the earth, you are my protector in this world and the hereafter. Cause me to die as a Muslim and join me with the righteous." Even after prison, even after power, he did not ask for the authority to last. He asked for a righteous end. Allah closes this surah with a statement directed at all of us. Indeed, in their stories is a lesson for those of understanding. The story begins with a dream and ends with its fulfillment. But between those 2 points is every trial that makes a person: betrayal, displacement, temptation, imprisonment, power, and forgiveness. The well was not the end. The prison was not failure. Each stage that looked like loss was, in Allah's knowledge, preparation. What Yusuf could not see from inside the well was that movement was happening. What he could not see from inside the prison was that refinement was happening. The plan never stopped. It just looked like it had. His integrity in isolation is its own lesson. When he was behind locked doors with no audience, no applause, and no one watching, he chose obedience. Not because it was easy, because it was right. And that private integrity became the foundation of everything public that came after it. You cannot separate the prisoner who refused compromise from the minister who deserved trust. And Yaqub's patience, described in the Quran as beautiful patience, was not emotional suppression. He wept. He grieved openly until he lost his sight from grief. But he never accused Allah. He never lost the thread of trust. He said, "I complain to Allah, not about Allah." That distinction is everything. When Yusuf finally held power, he did not use it to rewrite the past in his favor. to humiliate those who had wronged him, or to settle what was owed. He forgave when he had every right to punish. That is not a small act of character. It is the product of a life spent in the company of Allah's decree, a life that taught him, through every stage of it, that Allah's plan is not built around our grievances. It is built around something larger than us. This story is not ancient history stored away from relevance. It is a map. For anyone who is in their own well right now, waiting, confused, unseen. For anyone in their own prison, innocent, patient, with no rescue on the horizon. The plan is not delayed. It is unfolding in Allah's knowledge exactly as it should be. Yusuf's story does not promise that it will be easy or fast. It promises that Allah does not forget what He has written for you. If this reflection brought you closer to the story of Prophet Yusuf, peace be upon him, consider sharing it with someone who needs it. Subscribe for more content rooted in the Quran and authentic Islamic understanding. May Allah grant us patience in hardship, integrity in private, and humility when we are given authority.